Okay, so let's call the meeting to order because we've got 5 of 6, which according to Meatloaf ain't bad.
And
2 out of
6
3.
p.m.
And it's 6 p.m. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mark.
The Code of Ethics, which we forgot
Yeah,
to talk
and
about.
that's got to be under old business because we've discussed it before.
I brought copies of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Transportation Committee.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I brought the information on the chair voting.
Sure.
And then I got a couple of scheduling announcements.
Okay, we're going to put that at the end under future meetings. Oh, you know what? We should just do future meetings. Not just VSBA meetings. We should change that on the second page.
And actually, I've got one more because I don't see it on here.
Yeah, but we'll do that then.
Yeah,
if that's
okay. I
okay.
figured. I've got questions on the principal's report, which is not listed on here, so we should add that.
We'll do principal's report under new business.
And then I just have financials.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lori's
okay.
not here, right? So let's do financials.
Tammy, you don't have an extra pen or pencil,
Of
do you?
course, I do, yeah.
I have
I'll
one
go
too.
grab one.
Oh, thank you.
Financials. Let's do financials. Let's do them under old
Fancy one.
business
That's from the 4 times when you could
because
go to
we have that every month.
And get the free handouts.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna add a line. We're gonna add under members of the staff. We're gonna add Superintendent's Office, and we'll do financials under that. Bill is
Greg is on.
Greg is on.
Yep.
Okay, so Mark, did you have anything else?
That wasn't enough?
Well, no, I just don't want to cut you off.
No, that's it.
Does anybody else have any other new business? We got the financials. What else did I bring? Oh, we do have a couple of correspondence actually, so that's under there. And the only other thing I was just gonna talk about is equalized pupils. We'll do that under new business. I think I sent something to everybody, equalized pupils. So if nobody minds, I'm going to see if it's okay if we skip over and move facilities update. We just hit that first so that Greg doesn't have to stay online the whole night. Does anybody have an issue with that? Okay, so let's finish up consent agenda. I've got minutes of the June 6, 2022 meeting. Peter, I believe you submitted them and we got them in our packet. And Mark swatting at flies.
I am.
Batteries.
I was swatting in flies, but I do have 2 small changes.
Go ahead.
On page 2, first paragraph under Robert Rules, Rick, you can correct me on this. I don't believe you said that it was a recent legislative change that required adoption.
No, because
Actually, there's nothing that requires adoption.
right, there doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a legislative change. It said we operate under Robert's rules.
Yeah. Peter, let me know when you're ready for the next one.
I'm ready.
Okay, it's a really big one. On page 3, the first paragraph under additions or deletions to the agenda, you left out the letter V for VSBA.
Okay.
And that's it, Rich. If I can point out one thing about them, about this, on page 4, and this isn't for you, Peter. On page 4, under the hiring update, the last paragraph, you talked about we can get an update on the number of openings in the SU at the SU meeting. We didn't get that, so I'm hoping we can still get a number on that.
Asked about staffing it was suggested there are 178 openings. Oh, no, that was a mistake. Because why would I don't care what there is in Wyndham Southeast, and I don't care.
Oh, that's
Around
that's
state.
apparently a typo. Apparently that should be corrected, Peter. That should be WCSU.
Oh, Bill.
All right, where is that?
It's page 4, It's the floor was open for questions from the board. It's the last paragraph under hiring.
Okay.
Appreciation to the team for the hiring, and then Mark asked for about staffing comparisons in the region. It was suggested there were 178 openings at WSESU and 1,800 across Vermont. Mr. Warren noted this will be updated on the June 15th meeting. What I was saying was on the June 15th meeting, Bill was going to bring contracts for those people that he had, or at least that's what I think I meant. So I don't know, Bill, can you talk about under your superintendent's report about your openings?
I can do that.
Okay. So we'll add that under superintendents too. Mark,
That was it.
you sure? You still got a couple more pages. We got 5 and 6.
Maybe I
Oh,
didn't
is there
read
any
them.
change for page 4?
Yes. It was under hiring. The last paragraph we want to change that it wasn't WSESU, it was Wyndham Central, just any openings. Hi, Laura. Dwight, you should be here. The gang would be all here if you were here. I know. It would be the first.
Yeah.
I'd fall over.
Not in Vermont. Not in Vermont.
Oh, you got smart and left town. Okay, Peter, are you good to move on?
Well, I think so. I'm opening up that file, and if I have a question, can I ask it later?
Sure, you can ask it later.
Thanks.
So with those corrections, is there any other comments on the minutes other than Mark's? What we just went over? Okay, and then I just have two correspondence. I have from Samantha Bovat, dear RV School Board, I would like to thank you all for your support during my time of a family emergency. The gift card was very generous and came in handy for travel. Sincerely, Samantha Bovat. And I have to the school board, thank you for the retirement gifts. Dover has been my second home for a long time, and I have many wonderful memories of the students and families I have worked with. Thanks again, Sue Newman. And we also had Michael Italia retire from Dover. He's been over 10 years, and we had the second Mrs. From the other IB coordinator. Allison Sullivan had left us, but she stayed on as IB, and she's gone this year, and she was with us before you, Bill, I think.
Oh, no, Sue Newman, sorry.
No, but who was it? Wasn't Allison Sullivan also the other IB coordinator? Didn't she stay on this year to work?
She works for WCSU.
Right, but she stayed on to do IB to
Through
get
the
us through.
authorization,
Right.
yes.
So that was her last time, and
Okay.
then you lost Ms. Pancake, who we're going to talk to about in a little bit. So a lot of staff changes. Thank you to all those people if you're listening. Members of the public, I don't see anybody. Amelia, do you have anything for public?
I am all set. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Amelia. And then members of the staff, I don't see anybody. Summer vacation. So I asked, we're going to add superintendent's office above. So first thing is we have financial. So there's a 2-page financial that totals in $39,848.94.
I have questions.
Go.
So, and I don't know if these can be answered tonight or not. The first light charges, the difference between Wardsboro and Dover. Does anybody know why there is a difference between Wardsboro and Dover?
1396.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Difference.
So there's Dover internet charges are $286. Wardsboro internet charges are $180. Dover's phone and voice is $530. Wardsboro's phone and voice is $333. So I imagine that's per line with the phone, but on the internet, just
Maybe it's used.
if when there's an opportunity to follow up on that, I'd be interested.
Yeah, got it.
I have another question, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
keep going.
Opal Electric,
Number?
that is 2546.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is that?
That's
Blanket
the-
PO for the solar
That's the
incentive?
solar. So the solar, you remember that we get a credit, and we
Okay.
have to pay from the credit towards. I don't remember, is Opal the Wardsboro group or the Dover group? I can't remember the new name,
I will.
but that's what it is we don't pay the electric company. Actually, Wardsboro pays the electric company because their take from the Newbrook array doesn't cover the full amount.
So Opal would be you guys.
No,
Or would-
no, because
Right.
It's not you guys.
Right.
It's us.
no, but
It's the Wardsboro campus.
Dover
yes.
building would pay too, and this is
Yeah.
pretty high. How
Yeah,
much?
is that a
was-
monthly charge?
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah, what happens is every
That's a
month
monthly
you get
charge.
you
Okay.
get like what your electric bill, what it generated
Yeah.
is a credit, and then we have to pay 85% of that to the
Okay.
company that owns the array.
okay?
I'll get clarification on that.
So, and Bill,
Yeah.
that's our facilities person, I imagine, is kind of managing that or is aware of that?
Yeah,
No,
financials.
Lori.
it's actually supposed
So-
to be Marco that's managing it, and that's why we're having those committee meetings, and we're having, not committee meetings, we're discussing it to try to figure out the usage. So what's happened was, when we were closed, we weren't using as much electricity, so we were actually losing credits because they go away after a year. And what we found is that we can reallocate, and also the fire district was losing credits, as was the town. So we have a work assignment, a homework assignment, and all the three groups on the Dover array are supposed to look at their usage and look at how, if they can take on more. And Lori's supposed to be looking at our usage at the school, and she's supposed to be, oh, do we
we
disconnect?
done?
I don't know what just happened.
He did something. No, when you were over there playing around, this went to that.
They're still live on the laptop, so it's
Yeah,
it's
I'm
this. It's this.
We still hear you
Okay,
Okay.
so
and
anyways,
see you.
Yeah.
so anyways, we're supposed to all look at the, we're all supposed to look at our numbers and see if we should redo our numbers, and that's something we need to look at every 6 months.
Okay.
Because like we generate $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000 a month in the summer, but we don't use hardly anything. But in the wintertime, we use 4,000 or 5,000, but we only generate like a couple thousand. And since we can't carry credits past that 1 year mark, we want to allocate. But we have just one meter at the school, and like the fire district has 15 or 20 meters, and the town has like 10 or 12 or 15. And some aren't even online, so we're looking to just make sure it all gets used.
Okay. So I have not been part of those discussions or tracking that.
Yeah, we haven't, I'm supposed to bring it back to the board. I'm waiting for
Yep.
other people to do their homework to bring it back to the board, hopefully this fall.
You're gonna have to rejoin.
So I am interested in participating in those conversations. So both for Lori's sake and for Rich's sake. Additional conversation question. So which bus transmission went?
One of the Dover
One
buses.
of the Dover buses.
I would assume it was a Dover bus.
Well, it would have to be, because we,
Woodsboro doesn't own any buses.
Right. Okay.
The newer bus, Laura, sorry.
Oh, okay.
well, they're only,
Unfortunately, not
not
the
that
one we're
new.
about to replace, which I guess is good.
Yeah.
they're only a year apart, aren't they? Because we got them both at the same time.
I think there are 2 model years.
Right, but I think they were pretty close. I mean, they were ordered within 6 months. That was our big fight with WCSU.
Wasn't a big fight.
Yeah, it was. I had a big fight with Steven over that. Greg, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I just want, Rich, you're able to reallocate credits that you generated because
Yeah,
West River had generated more credits because they had the same amount going to the school as they did their snack shack, and we went to ISUN, and then that went even to Green Mountain Power and just someone up at the state there, and they told us they lost like a few $1,000s in credits. due to
Yeah, that
so
was-
just if you could share with me how you pulled that off,
Well, that's because we have a different company we're dealing with.
Oh.
I'm also interested in that conversation,
Well,
Mr.
I
Chair.
sent you that letter.
Yeah.
There was a letter from her Kathy, who's the treasurer, Bill?
Hague.
Kathy Haig's husband.
Yep.
And he actually
Rick.
sent something off. He sent a request to see if they could carry them or reallocate them. And I think it's just the way they're set up. It's a little different. But go ahead. Was that you, Greg?
Yeah, well, it was Rick Hague there,
Yeah.
but it wasn't the company that told us no. It was the state of Vermont told us that we were not allowed to. That and that gentleman highlighted some stuff. I think I have it all in my emails. I could probably dig it up and send it to you if you'd like. But
Well,
I believe it was someone from the state of Vermont told us that we were not. That there was in the midst of our contract, there was another law passed by the state that said you're not allowed to reallocate.
So sidebar, I would love to dive into that. I don't know that that's
Okay,
here.
hang on a second, Mark.
Laura.
No, Mark is
No,
raising
I
his
had my
hand.
hand
I
up.
just asked him to hold on a second. Yeah, I called the guy that we signed the contract with, and he's the one that told me we can reallocate. But ours is also different than when you look at the invoices that we get versus the invoices that West River gets. It's a totally different setup. So I think we can allocate. I mean, the guy told us we can allocate it. Go ahead, Mark.
I think you're using reallocation, the two of you are using reallocate in different ways. You can change the proportionality, the percentage of what goes to what part of your contract, but you can't reallocate what you've already,
Yes, exactly.
so what you've
No,
already.
yes, you can't.
If-
Stuff
if-
that
if
we've
you-
already earned, but what we
Right.
can do is
You can
is
change
if-
the allocations.
Right. If we see that in 6 months we've accumulated 20,000 extra credits, we can say, okay, well, let's take 10,000. Let's take for the next 6 months 2,000 a month of our credits. That's going to be 10,000 credits. And instead of it going to the school, let's put it to the bus charging station or
Oh.
something.
Okay, we were. Mark was right. We were saying the same thing but differently. Yeah, because we were able to reallocate it. We took the stuff from the snack shack, like I said, and then just rolled it over to the building. Somehow the Newbrook snack shack had its own meter. So we were able to reallocate it in that way, but we lost the credits that had already
Right.
been accrued.
No, and we've lost a few credits, not a lot. The fire district lost quite a bit more during COVID. They weren't running as busy, and at the end of the winter like they usually did. That's why we said we want to look at ours every 6 months to make sure that we're not going to lose a bunch of credits. Go ahead, Mark.
I've got a couple of financial questions,
I have
one of which
one
is.
more.
Okay, well, let's finish this solar thing. Are we all done on the solar, everybody? Oh, shoot. Are you good? I can't see anybody, so are you good there, Mr. Frost?
Yes, Frost is good.
Frost is good.
Good to go.
Okay. Frost is not good this time of year. Laura, go ahead and finish up. Or
Just
go ahead.
the diesel fuel.
Yeah.
What is the period of time for that charge? Is that
That's
quarterly?
a whole year, I
It's a
believe.
whole year.
That's a whole year.
Yeah.
Great.
226, 236.
Yeah.
Yeah, it said it's for fiscal year 22. It says
Yeah.
on the
Usually
PO.
they always
So-
used to bill it once a year. Well, they used to never bill it when it was just Dover.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mark.
So I had, along those same lines in regards to the bill from Town of Dover, there are a bunch of charges for a Chevrolet maintenance pickup. I wasn't aware that we had a Chevrolet maintenance pickup. It's on the actual invoice, not on the
Not on
report.
not on this thing.
Yeah, I've got the invoices up if anybody wants to see them.
Who's
It's part of 2236.
2236.
Yeah. It has Dave's name in parentheses next to it, but unless it's his pickup that's being listed as maintenance.
I don't have.
Yeah. Do you want to see it?
No, it says Town of Dover, but yeah, you got the. I didn't print the whole packet.
I didn't print it either, but I have it on the computer. While I'm finding this, can I ask another question?
Sure.
I found it. I'm just curious. There is a charge for $1,200, I think, for the nurse's audiometry thingamajigger. I'm curious what we were using before, if we didn't have one.
We were using the WCSU's, the school nurse from that side. So Leland
Okay.
and Gray would let us borrow theirs, or the Newbrook School would let us borrow theirs.
Now we have our own.
Lower half of the screen.
The Chevrolet. Maintenance pickup D.
Oh, it's just fuel.
Right.
Dave's getting fuel there.
Is that his personal pickup?
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's not our maintenance pickup. That's what I was questioning.
No, we don't have a maintenance
I didn't
pickup,
think
so
so.
he uses his. So I think that they made a deal. Matt, can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, sure. So, Mark, sometimes Dave runs down to the garage with his pickup truck to get gas for the mowers. And the tractor. So it's got to be that kind of stuff.
And I think that's a separate line item. There's a separate line that says maintenance tractor, diesel.
Tractor's diesel, probably separate line for diesel and gas, maybe because they're charged to two different accounts.
They're both diesel. But I wanted to make sure that we didn't have a maintenance pickup that I didn't know about.
No, we don't own a truck.
Was my main concern. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are back. Hi, guys. Are you set, Mark?
Yes.
Are you set there, Mr. Starro? Are you set? Dwight, you
Yes.
all set? Wherever you be? Oh, you're gone again. Oh, you're back. Okay. So, can I get a motion to approve expenditures in the amount of $39,848.94?
So moved.
So Mark moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Kate seconds it. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All those all those in favor say aye.
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 It appears to be unanimous in the affirmative. It is.
I didn't get the pennies.
94 cents.
Thank you.
Remember what Ben Franklin said, take care of the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. Here you go, Bill. We signed that. Okay, so Greg.
Laura, I've got your two.
Thank you.
Greg Frost.
Rich.
Hey, so speak to us about facilities update, discussion, possible action. The first one you have is paving at Dover.
Yes. So Helen informed me, Helen and Matt reached out to me a couple of weeks ago that we have in the capital plan $12,000 or $12,300 for asphalt seal coating, but they alerted me to a sinkhole that's happening in one area of the parking lot, and that the town of Dover is doing some paving in the area, and the gentleman, Travis, I think it is, had reached out to them and said, hey, if you have any paving that needs to be done, let me know. We can get it to you for this price per yard. I think it was $77.50
Per ton.
and he was willing to fix and put in a culvert for the sinkhole that they're having an issue with for free. And basically all you're paying is for the asphalt. They're basically willing to lay it down at the cost per ton of asphalt, which is an absolute steal. So they could get that area of the parking lot and the whole upper area of the lot done with a fresh coat of pavement for about the exact same amount of money. I think it was within a couple $100. But I just told them with that being a capital expense, I wasn't comfortable changing its use without your approval.
Well, I think seal coating and paving and all is kind of in the same ballpark, so does anybody have a problem with that? So the town of Dover has always been very good when they get their price, because they price it out per ton put down and then they just monitor it. So we've always, well, and again, before it was River Valleys, the town kind of just paved it and forgot to bill us. But now that we're the two, they do actually bill us for it. So does anybody have an issue with that?
They got a steal.
Yeah,
They really got a steal.
yeah. Well, Travis got them to go at last year's rate too, so which was really good. So, Greg, I don't think it needs a motion because it's in the capital budget, and we approved the capital budget, and it was for 23, right? 23.
Yes, it was. Yep. I just wanted to be very transparent with you so that somebody didn't say, hey, that says seal coating, not actual pavement. And so that's all.
Dwight, are you good? Yeah, Dwight's got a couple properties he wants paved at that rate too, please.
Yeah, they could come do my driveway at that rate as well.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, and then the second item was windows in Wardsboro. So last time we discussed this, you were going to do some more homework for us or something and bring us back some information.
So I reached out to the fire marshal. He did require a permit. And so I had to go back up and do like a kind of a full layout of the building. And then I submitted that back to him just to make sure it was cool before I put that back out for pricing. I didn't want to, put out for pricing for other people and just have him come back and say, no, those windows aren't okay. He said they're all good to go. We'll just need to apply for the permit when the time comes. And I knew at that point too that we weren't going to have time to get them all in before summer. So I said, all right, I'm not going to jam it forward. So I took my time, did a layout, submitted it to Patrick Banks, who then told me we're okay. So we're all set there. As far as the 2 windows that were purchased, I'm going to work with the painter to get those put in probably the end of this week. So.
Okay. So Mark had a concern last time, and we just, since you're the facilities manager, and he's got a very good point, and Dwight will tell you, we've been through this with some other places. If your windows aren't installed properly, you void the warranty, and a lot of people like to tape the bottom of the windows and not just tape the window opening and stuff. So please make sure that they follow the manufacturer's instructions, whether they've never installed them that way or they've been installing them their way for 100 years, because that's the only way you're ever going to be able to come back on if there's an issue. And especially in Wardsboro, because I think it's a wood frame building, so Dover isn't as bad because concrete usually doesn't rot, but wood will definitely rot and create us greater problems down the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no problem. I'll even have him take pictures of the flashing to ensure that he flashes it out properly.
Okay, well, we appreciate that. Is everybody good with that?
Easy, then you store it, and then that way you always have that as your backup to ensure that you do, cover yourself.
Okay,
no problem.
Excellent. Thank you. Go ahead, Mark.
Greg, you're going to get some more quotes on the additional windows.
Yes, yep. That's my next move. I just didn't want to do all that legwork if Patrick Banks was going to come back and tell me that no, we needed to match window for window and go with a solid top and a crank out bottom, type of thing.
Okay.
So.
Sounds good.
But these 2 are for windows that aren't operating now that you have issues with, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, now it'll just be lead time. Like I said, when we wanted to do that, I knew at that point we weren't going to hit a lead time where they would get here by summer. So at this point, it doesn't hurt us to wait a few weeks and put it out. And then, as Tammy aptly pointed out, like if all those windows show up, where are we going to store them? So I said, all right, well, if we kind of drag our feet a little bit, we can try to time it out for closer to like Thanksgiving break or even Christmas break to have them delivered, in that time frame so they don't sit around for too long.
I've also stored stuff at the lumber yard for like 6 months, so they don't usually get too nervous.
Okay. Well,
it's just you can't just go expect to pick them up the next day because usually they have to dig them out of storage.
Okay.
Dwight, are you good? Anybody here?
Good.
Okay, good. Move forward and get Tammy some good windows.
Will do.
Thank you, Greg. Have a good summer.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, for sure, you too.
Thank you. Superintendent's office, Bill, we did the financials, we did Greg.
We had the report at the June 6th meeting.
Yeah, and is there anything else?
Openings.
I just got,
the openings,
Mark
yeah.
wanted to know about openings. We have 8. We have an academic support in WCSU, a special education para in WCSU, a special education teacher in WCSU. In WRED, we have a nurse, social worker, grade 1 teacher, and a French teacher. And in River Valleys, we have a Spanish teacher.
You had pretty good luck hiring? Because that 8 seems like a really low number.
It is. We had over 20 beginning of the month. Yeah, we have very on principals that are just,
Awesome.
they reach out to their networks and try to make as many connections as possible and they help each other out. You know, if there's somebody from that we interviewed in West River that may work in Marlboro, they share all that information. So, yeah, 8 is not bad. I had 10, but then Marlboro was able to find 2 positions, so I'm happy with 8. Very happy.
I would be, yeah. Given the state of things.
Well, that
And
actually,
that of course assumes that everything happens tonight when you guys go to executive session.
so that actually is the next item under facilities in old business is hiring update.
Perfect.
So go ahead.
Oh,
I guess we don't have a Spanish teacher,
right, yeah, I think we're looking for the Spanish teacher.
but everything else, you're gonna make a recommendation tonight and everything else is full.
Yes, with the exception, and I think it will be a shared position, the instrumental music position. Did you have that listed?
I did not list it because we have decided on that, but that would not happen at this board.
Okay. You go ahead, Mark.
In the principal's report, you also have that .4 counselor listed.
So they merged the .4 and the .6 to make a full, well, you'll hear about that during.
Okay. Got it.
All's good, everybody? Dwight, you good? So, just looking through things. Bill, summer meeting and retreat in August.
Just
So-
know that I'm going to be the first week of August. I have a family reunion in Montreal, but other than that, I can make anything work.
Okay. Do we want to try it while we got Bill and Tammy and Matt all here? Do we want to try to pick a date? My thought would be, sometimes we've done them like from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. I think the best ones seem to be like if we maybe go 3 to 4 in the afternoon and go to like 7 or 8 at night. And we'll include a dinner with that.
That would be my choice.
Is everybody good with that time frame? Dwight, give me a thumbs up if you're good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mark and Chad?
Yep.
Kate? Okay.
Yep.
So let's pick some dates. Wednesdays are usually bad for me. Can we maybe try a Monday and the only reason I suggest a Monday is those are our normal school board meeting nights. So most people have that blocked out.
Yeah, Monday, August 15th, you guys have blocked out.
I'm on vacation that week and I can't commit to being here.
Okay. I'd like to see if we can get everybody here. So what about the week before, Bill? Do you have something with another board?
When Wednesday's blocked. Monday
8th?
the 8th, you're looking at Monday the 8th?
Does that work for you?
I think so, yeah.
Mark?
Yep.
Chad?
I could do Monday the 8th.
Laura?
I probably have a meeting that doesn't end until 4, but yes.
So if we did like 4:30.
Yep.
Tammy, I'm sorry, Dwight?
Monday the 8th, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, that'll work for me.
Second Monday.
It's good.
Matt and Tammy?
I will work around that date, yes.
Matt?
So,
He's checking.
Yeah.
He's
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Bill?
Yeah, I can make that work.
Why don't we do 4 to 8? Now give us 4 hours. Laura, you'd just be a little bit late.
Yep.
But maybe 2, Bill, we can, we always try to do something in Dover or Wardsboro, so maybe because we had the annual meeting in Dover this year, maybe we could do something in the gym and we can order some food from
Sure.
somewhere.
Yeah,
So can
Sounds good.
Matt and Tammy, we're gonna leave you in charge of food.
got it.
Could we maybe not do it in the gym? The acoustics in there are really horrendous.
Well, it's just us. It's not
I
an
know, but
open meeting.
they're still horrendous.
Can we set? Do you have another place we can?
How about right here?
Well, we can
If it's
just
just
roll
us.
the food in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If it's just
Yes.
us.
yeah,
The only other thing I'd ask too, if we're gonna be like 4 hours, could we have some real adult chairs?
sure.
these
Can
are
we
super
bring in
comfy.
Rich's? Can we bring in Rich's like padded wheelie?
Right, Matt. You gotta bring my chair from Dover over. Remember, when I retire from the school board, I get that.
You're going to get 2 of those, Rich.
Thank you,
We're going
buddy.
to give you that one plus another one we got kicking around from 1971.
Okay, cool. You guys laugh.
It's the little things.
It
Remind me
is.
to tell you the banjo joke sometime.
I will.
Along those lines.
Is there anything else we need from Bill? Dwight, do you have anything?
Your host,
No.
right?
The
Okay,
internet doesn't
Matt and
go
Tammy, you
down.
guys are all set if we let Bill leave?
Yeah.
Bill, I think we're all good.
Thanks, guys.
If we miss anything,
Thank
it's
you,
our
Bill.
fault.
Thank you, Bill.
It just, you guys are really good at making notes, and I appreciate that very, very much.
So, Mark and Chad, I'm going to turn over to you guys the website update.
Okay.
And then the tagline discussion too. So, you two, I know we're working on that with Matt and Tammy and company. So, whoever wants to speak first.
There's not a whole lot of an update. We meet on Wednesday,
Okay, so we're a couple days early.
a couple days early. But I would love to have just a really quick 5-minute brainstorming session on taglines or ideas for taglines, because otherwise we're not gonna have much to bring back to you at our next meeting. We need to have some input, some thoughts, some ideas.
I
Can we really make it 5 minutes?
yeah. No, but because actually, I really thought the tagline, it would be really nice for the staff and the students maybe to come up with a tagline, but maybe I misunderstand what taglines
We're a
are.
little late
Oh my
for that
God.
also.
Yeah, I know.
That's part of the problem.
Can we just do a placeholder tag for the tagline and then add it after the fall?
We'll have to ask them, but we can do a space holder while they are designing the website, but we're gonna need to know the length because it's gonna be part of the logo.
What does
So it's not quite as simple as just saving the space.
so Dover's always had the motto "Work hard and be kind." Do you have kind of a
We
motto?
have ROARS, which is similar. It's phrases, responsible, oh my gosh, why can't I think of it? Own it, achieve, respect, and safety.
Can we do those two, Mark? And that gives you quite
Too
a
long.
Too long. Oh.
Yeah, we're talking about a maximum of 4 or 5 words.
Do you have
Really?
suggestions?
Well, Chad came up with one.
Nurturing the flow of knowledge. The River Valleys Unified School District.
That's 5.
So one of the things we are
Length.
talking about as well is, and we talked about it at the last meeting, was sending out a survey to the community at large. So we're developing that as we speak. I actually just made an update to it for the committee this morning, talking about kind of what a tagline is, so that when we send this out, that everyone knows, what we're looking for. Some of the elements are, that it helps kind of bridge the saying to the organization and becomes a shortcut, so that when you see that, might not be thinking about school district, but you'll be thinking about what the school district does for the community. So, Laura, you're about to burst.
No, there are a few things that are more excruciating to me than marketing by committee.
Understood.
I actually like the tagline, sort of. The flow word is challenging for me.
It worked really well with the sort
the
of
logo.
logo that he had
Yeah.
put together at the time, which was a river between 2 mountains or something along those
Oh,
lines.
it's flow.
Yeah.
Oh.
But we didn't go with that logo.
Oh, you didn't?
So again,
what's the logo?
The art teacher is currently working on that.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So we don't know.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like nurturing. I like knowledge. Flow feels like
It's all
Well,
one
it's what
way. It
rivers
starts
do.
up high
Yes.
and goes
Yeah.
downhill.
yeah.
I mean, what were those?
I mean, it's
the
gaining,
ROARS
right?
word
Where's
again?
the
Yeah,
gaining?
responsible, own it, achieve, respect, and safety.
I mean, just as an aside, and maybe I misunderstand this, and remember, I still have a flip phone, even if it's a newer one.
And you have a big boy phone.
What? Like we're not going to vote on, and we're not going to say what the cover page is. You guys are doing that as the committee, right? We're not going to do. Why would we do the tagline? Why wouldn't we just let you two come up with a good tagline with the rest of your committee? Because you've got administrators, we have representation from the board, and I don't know who else is doing it with you. Does anybody who's not on the committee, does anybody besides Mark and Chad feel like we really have to weigh in on it, or can we just give them the ability to come to consensus amongst their group.
You guys can give us that, you can charge us with that. If we had done that and just brought it to you without asking, then you would have been upset that we didn't ask.
No, because nobody asked me about the picture.
It's not finished yet.
Well,
I would have
but
been
I
upset
thought it
that
was
you
going to be.
didn't ask.
Yeah,
I thought
so-
it was going to be a portrait of me.
Well, that's going on the bottom of the first page.
Oh, okay.
The whole second half.
Dwight, do you have any comments since
Rich?
you're?
A paddle?
I
No paddle.
I wasn't quite sure we needed one, but I did do a little research, looked at some others, and I think actually the sites that have them, I think it makes it look a little better and gives some information. I would just ask, I think they should do it, but I would just ask just give us maybe 2 options or something like that, or 2 or 3 options maybe.
Well, the
But that's all I
problem
would
is
say.
we don't meet before you need it, right?
Oh, I see.
Could we do it via email? Would that be appropriate, or?
Well, we
Individually.
could vote on it at the retreat.
Will that be enough time?
That's August.
That's a month, 2 months away, really.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get an
Well,
update
If that's
on
the case,
Wednesday on
just put
scheduling.
one in. I'm sure it could be changed, right? Or no?
We also have a July 14th training that we're all wanting to be at. So I don't know if that,
We could warn
We can
a
make-
10-minute meeting before that. But
even if we're to that point even.
Yeah.
Okay, because again, we appointed you guys as the committee. I mean, to me, I didn't know. Well, personally, I wouldn't have been upset if I'd seen a tagline because it doesn't. I don't care. Not that I don't care, but I mean, it's not something I want to weigh in on. But obviously, it's important to Laura. I don't know, Kate. you
Well,
haven't
I think
spoke.
I mean, it's a little important.
Okay.
It's not something I'm willing to dig way into. Like,
And if you think of anything, you can email me and we'll
I don't-
put it into committee. And
I don't love flow, but I will not it's not a hill I'm going to. So,
What about you, Kate?
There's many other things I have to worry about,
Yes.
so I do like what you guys came up with. If you can find another word that but do your best and nice work.
So, and then when you come up with something that you guys like, maybe just send it out and say this is what we came out with. How's that?
the logo may
Right.
May
It's
give
fine.
you.
may give us some sort of
Spark.
way also. So
Yeah.
Are you good with that, Dwight?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Tammy and Matt, are you guys
Yeah.
okay? Because you're on the committee, so
We
you'll
are.
you'll have some weigh in on that too. No, good job. So there's nothing else you need for the website.
we'll have a report Wednesday afternoon.
So I tell you what,
I'll email
send,
the minutes
send
out.
it to me and Bill, and we'll get it out to the whole board. And when we meet on the 14th, if that's a virtual meeting, so maybe what I can do is ask Bill if we can have the first 10 minutes earlier, and we'll just meet earlier if there's something you guys need voted on. So that I don't want to be the holdup, because I'd like it to be up and running for next year.
Well, we'll have, like I said, Wednesday we're going to get an updated schedule
Okay.
from them. I just want to remind everybody that our meetings are recorded and are on YouTube. You can get to them from wic_video.rvusd.net. And while I'm saying it, you can get to the policy committee meetings also just by replacing WIC with policy.
thanks for working on that.
So you guys are all set with, and it was just about 5
Do you have
minutes.
anything else that,
No, that was
yeah.
it.
Okay, nothing else on the web? Good job, guys, thank you. It took longer than I thought. I thought it would be a little quicker process, so it's, I'm glad that you guys are still shepherding it for us. JEDI Statement, so on, Dwight, you were there, and Mark and I at the Wyndham Central, so the Wyndham Central adopted the statement of support on behalf of Wyndham Central. So the only thing is it would be, again, instead of saying the Wyndham Central Supervisory Union, it would say the River Valley Unified School District.
Are you looking for a motion to adopt?
Is committed
So
to, okay.
Second.
Motion and a second. Everybody should have it, right? 'Cause okay. Is there any discussion on the motion?
So you did say that the WCSU adopted it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we did that at the last
No, I
meeting.
just wanted to make sure that
Oh,
everybody knows that.
Yeah,
because
so
not everybody
no,
was at the meeting.
WCSU adopted it, and we, I don't remember, did Bill say that there was another couple schools that were looking at adopting it?
Yeah, I think he said maybe
Yeah.
a couple did and a couple
Oh.
more were adopting, but
Do you remember?
Said they were looking into it.
Okay.
I don't know if it's
And look at that, I got you to talk on camera again. So, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Oh,
Yeah,
Go.
just quick. Just want to mention that it was really well received at the WCSU, and thanks to Rich. Can I make you read it out loud, Rich? I think it's really impressive, and maybe if anybody ever watches this video, will hear it.
okay. So the River Valley Unified School District is committed to initiating and supporting policies, practices, and curriculum that promote social justice, diversity, and inclusion. In celebration of our collective rich diversity, we also seek to affirm and elevate historically marginalized identities and experiences. We are dedicated to our belief that biased actions and hateful speech have no place in our learning community. Our commitment to social justice and educational equity will be reflected in our daily operations, including recruitment, admission, student and staff retention, responsibility for modeling and reinforcing upstander behavior, school and family support, hiring practices, curriculum, and respectful dialogue. And it's very interesting that we're discussing this and making this motion on this holiday.
It is indeed.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Dwight. That was a good idea. So we have a motion, a second. We've had some discussion. Is there any more? Hearing none, if you're all ready to vote, all those in favor say aye.
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 It appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is, so the motion passes. Hey, Matt and Tammy, then, can you guys just make a clean copy and post it, and we'll add
Yeah.
it to whatever you send out, and maybe let in the next newsletter in the spring, in the fall, just let people know that
Sure.
we adopted this.
and take out the last little part that says individual boards.
Yeah,
Use it also.
yeah, do you want this?
I've
You've
got it electronically. Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is summer meeting retreat we covered, board meeting etiquette. So what was this? Kate, remind me.
Just,
Oh, yeah, it was like during meetings, how we act.
yeah.
Okay, I don't think we're acting bad. Was this? You gotta help me with this one.
I didn't take notes that day when we were talking, but we were just gonna make sure we were all on the same page and that we're being respectful.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any issues with anybody not being respectful, but for some reason we put it on there, and I can't remember. So don't anybody get old or as old as me.
Was it about Robert's Rules? Because that
No.
was originally on the placeholder for this month.
Yeah, maybe it was. Oh, was this the one I was gonna make some notes? Yes, I didn't do my homework, guys. You're gonna have to give me an F.
Okay.
I was going to come up with some rules on how we act, because we didn't adopt Robert's small rules, but we have done things a certain way in Dover for years. Wardsboro had been pretty similar before us, and we've kind of done it since the beginning of the River Valley. One of the issues that Mark brought up was, it says you're supposed to be stand, and that was to be recognized. And if you actually look in the book, it says a person stands, they're recognized, they make a motion. It's interesting though, the people that second it don't need to stand, but they still have to be, they still are recognized. So I was just gonna come up with some brief, just rules how we do, because we're pretty informal. I think things have worked well, but Mark's point was, if we ever get into a decision that is challenged, they can look at how we operate, and they can say that wasn't the proper. If you read it in the newspaper, that happened to a board in Windham County, not a school board, but where some of the discussion may not have been quite right, and the attorney said they would have to correct it, and I think we're just trying to protect ourselves from that. And then Mark was going to bring up, and why don't we do that now, Mark?
Did you
Code of ethics.
in your thought process on not ethics, the board. Did you look at the board norms that are provided by the VSBA?
I have not looked through that whole big
Is
packet.
that, I don't know if they've updated the board norms, but I'm trying to find them in here. Anyway, that might be a place to at least start. They have a large number of them. West River, I think, has 5 or 6 that they talk about at the beginning of every meeting.
Okay, why don't, Mark,
somewhere in here.
instead of taking time tonight, why don't you find that and get that to us, and then when we do our next agenda for the actual business meeting in August, we can take that up.
Okay.
So Peter, do me a favor. In the minutes, just note that Mark is going to get the board norms to Kate and I, and we're going to have a more formal discussion in August and September on do we adopt them, or we just say this is what we're doing there?
I think it would be. We're gonna have to. There were like 20 or 30 of them, so we're not going to want to adopt all of them.
Okay, so we'll have a discussion on which ones we want.
And I would suggest that we vote to adopt them rather than it be just an edict from above.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, so board norms, I'm thinking are specific customs that we have here at the River Valleys, that are, different than,
Yeah, you know what,
Robert's
we could turn
rules.
right to it if we weren't in a meeting and looking for it, but.
well, I just want to make sure I understand what it is. So, board norms for VSBA would be their board norms, right?
No, they're
Well,
what's
this
in
is-
here is what they recommend as board norms for their
Right.
membership for us.
Okay.
And it's kind of, a lot of the stuff is stuff we do already. So instead of us taking time on this,
Yeah, I'll send you the page number
yeah,
once I find it.
board norms, it's somewhere between 74 and 82.
There you go.
Maybe we can hit this. Board norms. The board will represent the need and interests of all students in our district. Board will lead by example. Surprises to the board. Oh, I'm sorry, page 79. The board requests of staff are to be directed to the superintendent. And we actually, the superintendent has allowed us to go to our administrators and the building administrators. All personal complaints and criticism by the board will be directed to the board chair, who will in turn share them. So there's 18 of them altogether, page 79 and 80.
Oh, I see.
It's almost, to be honest, Mark, some of this stuff almost looks like the other thing that you're going to bring up.
Board of Ethics?
Yeah.
I had not read through these, so I just knew that they were in here.
Okay, so let's hold this and let's have that discussion in August. Everybody look at it and I don't see anything here that we haven't done.
So, Richard,
Go ahead.
so those look really appropriate to me. What I'm concerned about is not about adopting those, but I think we have other norms here, customs here, that may not be on this list, and so that I think is what I'm concerned about.
Oh yeah, that's what
So
I'm
that we
thinking.
don't approve these, and then anything that is not alongside those. So what is what's the frame when we approve these? What is the frame with which when we're approving them? Like what are we trying to achieve?
We're just trying to achieve a way that the board operates, the standard that the board operates, that all board members operate under. As an example, let's just take an easy one. Study sessions will be for in-depth discussions on one or two agreed upon topics. That's not a good one.
That's not. I'm not sure why that's part of a board norm.
Yeah.
How about number 13? Board commits itself to continuous improvement through the yearly board retreat.
Well, let's go to number 12. That's a really easy one. When executive sessions are held, board members will honor the confidentiality of the discussion. So we're all going to agree, which is kind of also part of that code of ethics. So if we have an executive session and Tammy wants to tell us that something that Matt did bad, and then we can't, Kate and I can't go to Matt and say, Matt, guess what Tammy did? We would not be, that would not be in the board norm. And then we could, again, there's not a lot you can do because you can't force board members to resign. And you can't censure board members, but we could say as a group, we could say that they didn't follow the board norm.
I think you can censure board members.
I don't think you can, because we tried it once. At least we were told we couldn't.
And so,
Before you.
so what if we have a norm that is not on this list? So I guess when I say frame, I'm trying to understand what we are doing to what end. So is this like a continuous improvement thing? Like we're gonna start here and we'll have a process for, you know, like, oh, and this is also
Actually-
a board norm and this is how we would add that. Like I'm just trying to understand what we're doing and when we're done.
That makes sense.
Hey, Laura, let's
Yeah.
do this. Let's make this a discussion at the retreat.
That sounds great.
Let's talk about, let's put this all
sounds
together, Mark.
great.
Let's do, because then we'll have time, it's more of a work session. So let's do one of the items at the board retreat to be, I think it all can fit in together. Robert's rules, let's do the board norms, and let's do what we operate. People think about things that we've done as a board that really aren't like specific rules or specifically spelled out in Roberts or anywhere, but that we do and that we like, and things that we don't like. Go ahead.
Can you get, or I can just listen to a video. Could you ask Al for the list of norms at West River?
Could you do that?
It's like 5 or so that they say at the beginning of every
No.
meeting, and some of them I think are actually really good.
Right, and let's also see if Marlboro has any.
They don't.
Okay.
I've watched plenty of their meetings.
It seems like
you know.
the rules, as we were talking about, Robert's full set and small board, and the norms, there's definitely a delineation between the two.
Right.
You know, one is more the protocol for how we're going to conduct business, and the other is the approach to doing the business that we're going to do.
Right.
How you conduct
So-
yourself.
But I think
Yeah.
I think would all be a good discussion how
Sure.
it all interplays, unless you guys disagree.
So I would just equate
And
it,
then we gotta get to it.
or I am equating it. Maybe this isn't not a good equation. So in the legislature, we have rules for how we act. We also have customs for.
Hang on a sec.
No, I know.
Let her finish.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
no, I feel worried.
Which are different.
I
Yeah.
was just going to say, one of the West River ones that I think makes sense is something along the lines of, we'll be present and paying attention during the meeting.
Not on her phone and
Or doing something, you know, not staring out into space or daydream, you know, whatever the case is. But that, I think, talking like what you were saying, it's kind of our behavior rather than
Right.
rather than the processes.
The anthropological sense of norms versus
That's
normalcy.
That's a professional way of saying it.
Hey Dwight, are you staring into space?
Yeah, I'm just getting off my phone. Give me a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it sounds. I think it's a great discussion for the retreat. I think and I understand what Laura's saying in terms of the framework. Obviously, these aren't policies where you break them, you're going to be fired from the board or anything. But I think it's just an opportunity to talk about things and what kind of expectations are of each other and how we should operate. So I think it's great, and the perfect place to do that is at the retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys all good with that? Kate,
Yeah.
are you good with that? You haven't had any big comments?
No, no big comments.
Okay. So 78 and 79, Peter, 78 and 79 in the book is important for the retreat, in the essentials book. And Tammy is going to get from West River their board norms. And if anybody thinks of anything
right now.
between now and then, just, send Kate and I an email. We'll try to add it. So if the retreat's going to be the second Monday in August, let's try to get the agenda done the last Thursday in July or whenever that is.
Okay.
Peter, can you note that we want to try to get Bill the end of July, like 2 weeks before the retreat, so we can put together a decent agenda and let people be prepared?
Yes, when?
Probably the last Thursday of July. Will that be like?
Okay,
The last Thursday of July is the 28th of July.
Yeah, because the first Monday would be the first, right?
Yep.
And Bill won't be here that first week.
Right.
Of August.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's why hopefully we can do it that last week of July. Okay. Thank you, Peter. Mark, are you good?
Yep.
That was kind of your part of your thing too.
Yeah, well, did you do the
Well,
code
do
of ethics?
you want to do the code of ethics with this too? Because code of
I think it's a
ethics
little
has a lot of
different.
things that are in the norms and.
Are we? Is the retreat being recorded?
No.
Then no, I'd like to do this now.
Okay.
And I'd like to do Robert rules while it's recorded also. I think that should be a
Well,
warned
if we make a
meeting.
decision, we can announce our decisions at the next meeting.
I think the discussion though should be.
Well, that's what a retreat is. A retreat is not a public meeting. A retreat is a time for the board to work together. So.
It has to be warned though. If you have 3 or
Yeah,
more
but
people.
we again, a retreat is different. We're not making any decisions. We're working on ourselves as a board. There's a lot of case law. You can look into it that you can have a retreat. It doesn't have to be recorded, and it's not an official meeting.
I understand that you
So-
can, but these are two topics that I think should be part of public meetings.
Okay. Then go ahead.
Well, this is the code of ethics. We talked about this on April 4th.
Yep.
At the April 4th meeting. That we were going to bring it up at the organizational meeting, and I think it just got missed. So these are it. Dwight, if you should have a copy from back then, or I'll just pass this
I
out.
have it right here. I think it's in our packets.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in the
Okay.
back page.
The last one.
Wasn't in what we emailed, so. This is the same code of ethics that's in the essentials workbook from VSBA, except with our name on it. And I think it's just a standard set of agreements that we make with ourselves and with the board to uphold. And while we can't force anybody to sign it, and there's no ramifications if somebody doesn't, I do think it is something that we should, as a board, vote to adopt, and people will have a choice whether or not to sign it.
I move we adopt the code of ethics as presented from VSBA.
I will second.
So we have a motion, Peter, and a second to adopt the code of ethics. Laura moved and Mark seconded it. So is there any discussion?
Stop it.
Oh,
So I
Go ahead.
Rich.
Go ahead, Dwight.
I'm just, you mentioned this, we're going to approve this as a board, but if there's a signature line at the bottom, will this be signed by all individual members, or are we just going to vote as a board?
Well, we're voting to adopt it as a board, and then individual members can sign it if they want. They don't have to sign it if they don't want to.
Who are we submitting these to?
I was going to say the board chair.
Yeah.
So you're gonna sign if you want to sign it. If we vote to do it, and you want to sign it, then send it over to me.
Okay.
And then I think one of Mark's things was he wanted to make public who signed it and who didn't. So we have a motion on the floor. Mark, do you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I think the vote is the public part. I don't think we need to, I think people should be free to say I'm going to sign it or I'm not going to, but I think who does and who doesn't is between board members. I think, I'm sorry, Laura, it's a fly. I think the vote that we take now, whether or not to adopt it, is the aspect that the public sees.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion, Kate? You good?
I'm good.
Chad, you all set? Dwight, are you all set?
Yeah. I guess one question. So how were these recently is this something that VSBA's had for a long time, or is this something they newly put together? I'm just kind of curious. This has been around for a while, or?
They've had it for, I don't know how long, a long time. It was modified a bit 6 months or a year ago. So this is a slightly
It
updated
says
version.
updated March 22.
Yeah, I don't remember if I put that there. I think that may be when I put this together.
Put it together.
Yeah. But it was updated by the VSBA. When I asked them for the most updated version, they had a hard time finding it because they couldn't figure out which one was updated. But they pulled it out of the essential workbook, which is where it got updated for. So
I was just kind of curious if it's something that's been like kind of ongoing and adjusted over the years, and it's been used in the VSBA for a long time, or you know what I mean, and just.
We actually,
Agenda.
WCSU had a training session long time ago right here in Wardsboro when Winton Goodrich was still up there, and this was discussed too. And it's one of those things that you do for a year or two and then people kind of forget about it and it just doesn't happen again. Because a lot of this stuff is covered, you know, when you get sworn in every so many years, you know, it's not as specific as, you know, I will remember my primary concern must be the educational welfare because, you know, the oath is you know, to serve the state of Vermont and the, you know, the people of the town. And so it's kind of just a little bit above and beyond.
Great, thank you.
Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 It appears to be
Aye.
it appears to be unanimous in the affirmative.
I don't know that this was on our agenda.
It was added, Mark
Was
added.
Mark added it.
Okay.
Okay, board meeting etiquette. Mark added code of ethics. Transportation committee. Mark asked us to also add transportation committee. So we've had in the past a transportation committee, and we didn't redo it when we reorganized for some reason. The chair is allowed to appoint committee members. In the past, it's been the administrators, the bus drivers, representatives from West River Transportation, the Town of Dover Highway. Mark helped me, a couple board members.
Full board members and possibly
Parents.
We've had-
yeah,
in the past.
Yeah.
two parents.
We had a
At least two
parent
parents.
who tuitions one child to each school.
Who's- Who's been on it for the last couple of years?
Yeah, and then, you know, we try to get a
Wardsboro.
parent from each school.
Wardsboro Road Commissioner. I seem to remember you
Yeah.
saying there really wasn't.
He's not very
one, but-
active in, I think he might have only attended one meeting. I can
Yeah, none
can
of the
certainly
meetings that I was a part of.
invite again.
I've always liked
Yeah.
having the road commissioners there because, you know, they'll say, what are you nuts? You want to put a school bus on that road? So does anybody have an issue with appointing those same positions, the same people again?
Are you looking for a motion, Mr. Chair?
Sure. Why
I
don't you do
move
it?
that we reappoint the same members of the Transportation Committee as we had previous last year to the Transportation.
Do I have Mark seconds it?
I'll second with
Yep, go ahead.
hopefully just a couple of really friendly amendments. It's actually been
A couple of years.
a couple of years since
Yeah.
since it was appointed.
I think it was the first year you were on the board.
I was appointed to it very shortly after I got on the board. So, and like to ask Tammy and Matt to find parents. Allison Young has been on it for a couple of years. Last time I spoke to her, she was still interested.
Okay.
But I don't know whether that was a number of months ago.
I will ask her.
So the makeup, let's do this. The makeup of the committee, Laura, if this is okay, will be the two administrators, the two bus drivers, 1 to 2 reps from West River. It'll be the road commissioners from both towns, and it'll be a minimum, or try to be, you know, parent from each town, or possibly 2 if we get that interest, and 2 board members.
Yeah.
And if that's good with everybody, say aye.
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 Well, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry, Dwight.
I just want to. I wasn't on that committee. I know you mentioned all those people, and it seemed like a lot of people. Like, it's like 10 or 12 people on a committee. I didn't go to the committee. I'll be honest. But if Mark was there, I was wondering how effective that committee was, being kind of a large committee.
We actually were pretty effective. We met a number, at that time, we met a number of times to discuss a bus for BBA, actually. And that with that number, it does seem like a large number. At the time, on that committee, I was the only board member, so I don't know if there's going to be another board member that wants to be. But we had parents and the bus drivers at all the meetings. Matt and/or Tammy was at them. Road commissioners didn't come, but at the time, Bobby did give us information.
And I was going to say, probably if you're discussing busing issues in Wardsboro, you don't need the Dover
Right.
road commissioner. You don't need the Dover bus drivers. You need the West River. But if you have a couple parents, and the real reason we set this committee up a few years ago is we were getting requests for bus stops because
A decade ago.
what?
It was like a decade ago.
2 decades ago, it seems like. We were getting a lot of requests for like door-to-door service.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I just moved up on Whites Hill Road. I want a bus stop because you go to so-and-so's house. And people wouldn't, well, we went to their house because we had to get from this road to that road and we drove right by. Because some people like wanted a bus stop, as an example, at the bottom of the hill on Route 100, where we have a whole bunch of accidents. So it was kind of like the road commissioner saying, yeah, you can't do that there and you can't get the bus up that road. So let's, give them a bus stop. But, we want it 200 yards up the road where they can pull over safely if they have to. So it's a really good idea to make sure that everything's taken care of. It also, like Mark brought up, in the past that they've helped recommend the buses when we buy a new bus. Because one year we actually had a bus that couldn't make it up the hill if it was full of students. It was way underpowered. And the road commissioner suggested that that's not the engine you want because it'll be worse than the last bus. So it is good just to have some extra input. Mark, do you want anything else from your service?
I was just going to say, in the principal's report, Matt included that the RFP for the new bus is going to be going out shortly. So that would be one of our tasks, is to review the responses.
Great, that's great. You certainly have plenty of opinions and points of view, so that sounds great. Thanks.
Okay, so I'm sorry about that, Dwight. Is everybody ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, it appears to be a unanimous decision in the affirmative. It is a unanimous decision. Ethics. Mark, I think that covered all your stuff under new business, right? Under old business.
Under old business, the chair voting.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I think it was our last meeting, the question of the chair voting on motions, I raised that issue, and Rich had asked Bill to ask the lawyer. So I thought to save a couple dollars, I would pull out the information from Robert's Rules. I only have 2 copies of it.
Just read it, we're fine.
Well, okay, so, and this all comes from the 12th edition. Section 456. Chair vote is part of an announcement where it affects the result. If the providing officer is a member of the assembly or voting body, he has the same voting rights as any member, except in a small board or committee, however, unless the vote is secret, that is, unless by ballot. The chair protects his impartial position by exercising his voting right only when his vote would affect the outcome, in which case he can either vote and thereby change the result, or he can abstain. If he abstains, he simply announces the result with no mention of his own vote. In a counted rising vote, or count of hands, on a motion requiring a majority of vote for adoption, the outcome will be determined by the chair's action in cases where, without his vote, there is A, a tie, or B, one more in the affirmative than in the negative. Since a majority in the affirmative is necessary to adopt the motion, in the case mentioned, a final result in the form of a tie rejects it. Where there is a tie without the chair's vote, the chair can vote in the affirmative and such a vote adopts the motion. But if the chair abstains from voting, the motion is lost. And then section 4412 If the presiding officer is a member of the assembly, he can vote as any member, excuse me, as any other member when the vote is by ballot. In all other cases, the presiding officer, if a member of the assembly, can, but is not obliged to, vote whenever his vote will affect the result. That is, he can vote either to break or to cause a tie, or in a case where 2/3 vote is required, he can vote either to cause or to block the attainment of the necessary 2/3.
So, what I've done for years and years is
Decades.
I usually just give my vote to the majority. I just say, you know, I vote with the majority and make it a unanimous decision. I have voted when it's been when there's not a unanimous vote, I will let everybody else vote, and then I will either vote to create or break a tie, or I will abstain, and my vote doesn't go with the majority at that point. So I have always felt that it would be good that when a lot of these decisions we make as a unified board. So I think I'm doing everything that's in there. I don't think I've done anything different.
Well, you're including your vote when it's not a
Well, I'm
ballot
allowed to vote.
No, you're not allowed to vote unless it's a ballot vote or you're creating or breaking a tie. Those are the only conditions in which you are allowed to vote.
Go ahead, Laura.
So, Mark, it sounds like to me that the issue is that the chair voting when we have a unanimous decision is unnecessary, and you'd like that we not have him do that.
Well, we voted not to adopt the Robert's Rules of Small Boards. Under Robert's Rules of Small Boards, the chair can vote. Under Robert's Rules, the chair can't vote unless they're breaking a tie or creating a tie, or if it's a ballot vote.
Okay. So what is the action that we are looking for? Are we looking for a motion to have this be, or are you just wanting to call this to our attention since we voted to
I was
not
bringing
go with
it
small
up
boards?
because it was a question that was raised.
Okay.
Rather than pay a lawyer $600 an hour, I could read through.
I think it was a question you
Robert's
raised. Is that
rules.
right?
Correct, it was.
Yeah, okay. So I believe in the past, Richard, that you have always voted to break a tie. You have not always voted with the majority. I think that is something probably through a new training with Robert's Rules, probably during, your moderator. But in the 20 years that I've served on this board with you, I think you've consistently voted when there's a tie, and voting with the majority is something new. So,
No, I've always put my vote with the majority. I've always
All right.
said the chair will go with the majority, just so that it's a unanimous vote of the board.
Yeah.
Just because we always felt in the old days that it looked better,
okay.
that we're unified on something. And if we're not, and again, I was the one who always used to argue before I was chair for the 6 months that we don't all have to be unified to have a vote. We can have a vote. They used to want to discuss it until everybody's going to vote the same way, and I just said there's no reason to do that.
So
I'll follow if I'm on the wrong side of a vote. I'll follow the majority, but I get to express my thoughts by my vote, and that was before I was chair. Usually, and I do agree with Mark, because the same thing with the moderator. We try not to influence. So as a great example at the annual meeting, when there was a tie vote, or when there was the voting for the new moderator, nobody from the board voted, because we didn't want to raise our hand the first time and have everybody say, oh, that's who we should vote for, because that's who the board is voting for. So it was a tie, but then when we were allowed to vote, when it went to a secret ballot, everybody on the board voted in the secret ballot, which follows exactly what Mark's saying. Go ahead, Mark.
So the rules for unanimous consent say that the chair can call for a unanimous consent if they believe that there's nobody against it, nobody in the minority. That uses the word unanimous. So
we tried that a long time ago, and people
right.
didn't like it.
No, what I was going to say was, I believe that as long as you are calling for a vote on a motion that's made, if it's inappropriate for you to vote, I believe it is still a unanimous vote of the board if everybody votes in the affirmative. or in.
Well,
the negative.
we tried the unanimous consent thing, and people didn't like that
I wasn't,
because.
I wasn't suggesting to try that.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying that there was some people from the public, when we used to get more public, that didn't like that because they didn't know how people really felt. They thought people may just not be speaking up against it. So it's, again, it's, you know what, it's whatever you all want to do. I was just here to serve.
Hey, Rich?
Yo, go ahead, Dwight. Sorry, I keep forgetting you're up here. We got so many people here
Like the
today.
guy in the other room in the closet. So, yeah, I mean, after reading what Mark said, I don't feel you've done anything wrong. My recollection over the years is you always only voted to either break a tie or to create a tie, which I think he said was okay. So I don't see you voting when it's not necessary. But maybe I'm missing a vote that happened that Mark's talking about. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
Mark's point was, I've always said, you know, the chair's vote goes with the majority. And that he disagrees with. That's, I think, Mark, is that Boyle?
Correct. Yeah.
Is that right? So, I mean, I think there has been a case where you voted to create a tie. Now, is that, Mark, is that something that's not allowable?
No.
I am.
He's allowed to create a tie. I'm sorry, Rich, can I answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's allowed to create a tie or break a tie.
Right.
Or vote if it's a ballot vote. Any other vote, his vote, he's not allowed to vote. So all I was saying was that when he says my vote goes with the majority, that's creating a vote for himself. That's against the rules.
Okay. So just basically, what he shouldn't say is my vote goes with the majority. So and then he would be.
But
fine.
again, it's something I've done for years and years, so it almost sets precedent.
But it has no effect. And maybe it's just it has no effect on any vote we've ever taken. Right. So basically, it's something that we could adjust moving forward.
Go ahead.
So I actually am interested, just so that we're clear how much flexibility we have. I'm actually interested in having the attorney weigh in on whether or not what you've done is something that as a board we can agree to. Even though we don't have Robert's rules for small boards. I think it's just important for us to understand what kind of flexibility we have with Robert's rules. I think that seems like something that the board really wants to explore.
And I think that's why we're having this meeting with the attorney.
Great.
On the 15th? It's 14th, 16th.
Yep.
I don't know. Do you remember when it is?
I do remember.
July 14th.
August 4th.
No, August 4th is the VSBA training on Robert's rules.
Oh, this isn't on the future. Oh, those are future VSBA
It's July,
meetings.
Right.
it's July 14th is the
Okay. July 14th. I knew it was sometime in July.
And
Dwight, are you good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, is everybody good? I think we've had discussion. If somebody'd like to make up some kind of motion, you can. I'm not sure what the motion would be.
you need one. You voted
Yeah, I
not
think
to-
there is
you
one,
voted
Tom. I think,
not
if
to-
anything, the question that Laura just raised needs to be determined first. Whether we can adopt sort of our own subtleties or we have to follow Robert's rules or small board rules to the absolute letter. Because I think, as you just said, Rich, it looked better to have the whole board in that, to take it out of context, unanimous consent of whatever the item was up for discussion. But it almost seems like before optics was a thing, Robert said, you know what, we don't need to create an optical situation that doesn't exist, whether or not you're for or against. So, with us being a board of 6, if we're 5-0 in the yay, whether you say yes, you're with us, or no, you're against it, could that create a situation for, the riotous community afterwards? Well, Rich said no, but it passed because the 5 of you were foolish and said yes. I don't know. It's a very interesting question. And again, I think to stay with Laura and say, attorney, what is the review of this? Can we do the way we've done it that is, allows Rich to voice for the community, with his own community as well. So
It's that's an interesting point. I can just go back and point. I didn't vote for this. Go to these guys.
right.
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, and that's exactly what you should be able to do, because you're supposed to be the impartial manager of the meeting, not the opinionated member of the board.
Yeah. Okay, I think we beat this up enough unless somebody else wants to beat some more. If not, articles of agreement. So this was just going to be a quick reminder that we were waiting for some stuff to get through legislature. And they have changed some rules that apply to unified school districts. But it's mainly on how to get out of agreements, not so much on how to, how they get managed. So Bill was just gonna check with the attorney and make sure that we are, that his recommendations that he made to us are still good. And we've never had a formal vote on what we want to do. We've had some discussion. We've asked the attorney some questions, and we kind of have a general idea where we think the majority of the board wanted to go. So I think at the next regularly warned meeting, we will make sure that the attorney's still good. I will ask Andy to attend. To see if we want to have a vote and what we want to vote on and what we want to recommend, and then we can move that forward. Go ahead, Mark.
So, I don't know the number of the act once it passed, but the rewrite of Chapter 11 did solidify in law some of the options that our attorney had told us were possible for unified school boards. They were available for union school boards before us, not unified school boards. So now they are solidified in law.
Okay, because what I got out of it was, from the conversation, was that there's nothing that changed his recommendations.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't think
so
there would be.
I just assumed, because when I looked through it quickly, I just saw a lot of ways to get out and how not to close buildings again. But again, I took a glance at it. So I think, Peter, can you make sure that that's on in the minutes, kind of highlighted, so we make sure that I invite Andrew to that?
It is.
Thank you, sir. Good job.
That's gonna be the August meeting?
That'll probably be the August meeting. Yeah, I just want to make sure Andy's available and that we can have a full board there. I don't want to do that with a partial board. Is there any other old business from anybody? Cool. Can we move on to new business? Oh, wait. Oh, under old business, hiring update. Do you have anything for public session, or is it all
No.
executive?
We did that already, didn't we?
We touched on.
Oh, that was Bill did that, but I didn't know if they did. Okay, so new business, banners for graduates, discussion, possible action, reconnecting with high school. So this I actually remember because this came from me. So my wife and I went for a ride one day. We went down to some flowers full of bridge full of flowers. It used to be an old trolley bridge or something. And driving down there were all these banners, and they had like people from World War II in their uniforms and stuff. And it was for Memorial Day, and it was like honoring veterans, you know, or people that served in conflicts. And we saw a bunch of them in all different towns in Massachusetts. I said, oh, that's kind of neat, you know, because the pictures looked funny. And I'm like, that looks like a really old picture. They had a World War I guy up there. But then we got into one town in Massachusetts, and they actually had high school graduates. And they said, congratulations, so-and-so, you know, graduating from whatever town we were in. And I said, you know, we've always had this issue in Dover, and I don't know if Wardsboro it's been discussed in the past, but we've always tried to connect, we've always wanted a way to connect with the graduating high school seniors and their families to see where they went, what they thought, was there, you know, how well prepared were they when they left and went to wherever they went, you know, how were things going. And even when Bill was our principal and Susan Mack, we thought of a barbecue, we thought of all these different things. I thought what may be kind of neat, and it's not fully fleshed out, so I don't have all the details, but my thought is to every person that we're paying tuition for that graduates high school, we get a banner for them. We make arrangements with the towns to put it up in the town that they live somewhere where people can see it. And make it voluntary. It's not like we're gonna, you know, force you to take a mugshot of you and hang you up on a banner. But then, as part of that, if we do the banner, there could be a survey that we ask the student and the families to fill out. You know, like how, you know, where did you go and for each year, and you know, what were you satisfied? Was there anything we didn't prepare you for? But make it something that will work for us, and then we put the banner up and we get permission maybe to post the banner from May 15th to July 15th or something, and then take the banner
kids.
down and give it to the family. And see if maybe we can get economic development money to help us, do that in Dover. I don't know if Wardsboro has some kind of fund. But, just, I think it would be kind of again, I'm just springing it on you now. Let's think about it. And I thought that could be a short discussion at the retreat, because I think it also can kind of be one of those things. We hear a lot of stuff, like we used to hear, oh, we can tell those kids are from Dover because they were so well prepared by Susan. But, I think it may help us, know where we're doing good and where we're not. And again, it's not totally fleshed out, but if you folks think it's okay to, if you'd like to move that forward, I'd like to move that discussion forward, and maybe at the retreat bring it up. And it's something we'd probably have to plan on through the during the budget time, and then something that we can talk to some people and get some funding. I thought maybe businesses could sponsor it, or we could get people that would sponsor it. Go ahead, Laura.
I've done banners before.
Yes.
Yes.
I've found a lot of your banners before.
Yes, you have. So getting sponsors and stuff, that might be a challenge for, because that'll fall on our staff, really. So, but I would be interested, just as to start, if we could get a sense, two things, get a commercial quote and also check in with Mount Snow as to whether or not it's something that they might be willing to work with the two towns on. They have their own print shop.
Not anymore.
They don't?
They took the print shop away?
Well, the sign shop is gone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the sign shop is gone.
Isn't
I
that
don't
the
know.
print shop?
I assumed it was.
Yeah, the sign shop was where they
Yeah,
made
no,
the
a
trail signs
couple
and all
years
that
ago.
good stuff.
Bummer.
He's out on his own now.
Well, I mean, it would be great if we could. I would love to see us move this into the budget discussion and just get some quotes so that we have a sense of whether or not it's something that we would incorporate in the budget. I mean, how many graduates do we have, every year? I mean, it may not be that it's that much.
I mean, how many, Matt and Tammy, do you guys
It's a really
know?
good question.
I mean, we had, go ahead, do you know?
So I don't know how many graduates we have this year, but driving around Wardsboro right now, there's at least a half a dozen signs, little yard signs
The
that say
BBA.
BBA graduate, and it has the student's name and class of 2020. And it's just, it's not a photo, but it's
It's
just
a campaign
it's their
sign.
name.
Yes,
it
it
totally
exactly
is.
is.
And Laura knows all about those,
Yeah.
but it's personalized. And they were in front of houses where I did not even know there was a student present at all. So that was really interesting to be able to see that, because it is a quiet population that we don't get to, I drive to the Wardsboro school a fair amount. I know which kids we have, but then once they go on, we don't always know that they exist in town. So, and I think there was one in front of your house this year,
Yep.
Chad.
Yep.
I mean, I know
COVID
for the
too.
fire
Yeah.
department, we did it for our 50th anniversary. We got 3 banners, and we put 2 out in front of the firehouse for our 50th party, and then we had one that we raffled off, and then we took the other ones down and put them inside the, one inside the firehouse, and one we just saved for the 100th. And they weren't, I think 3 of them was less than $200 or $250, but they weren't a picture, but they were a design that wasn't a stock design. So let's just, I'm gonna ask or do you have somebody who does banners?
No, I mean, I know who BVA is used in Manchester because the lacrosse team also did them for senior night. So they had 14 seniors graduating from that team. So they did do a headshot with the player name, player number. So actually I have 2 this year for Ryan, who's graduated. But what I was going to ask for my Dover friends, approximate time for Blueberry Festival and Parade.
Oh, the
The end of July, usually
of
around the
July.
28th, 21st.
So that might be a little bit late.
Not
but-
happening.
Beginning of August.
Not the parade,
Not
but
the parade.
Blueberry
Right.
Festival's
Yeah, the
happening.
festival is, right.
But thinking of the way to be able to incorporate the grads with a float, so the Dover elementary kids that graduate from high school bring them back and do a high school
that's a cool idea.
float, for Blueberry Festival parade, and for Wardsboro during the July 4th parade, with the new designation of the town corridor that Wardsboro received. Do you recall Main Street corridor? Dwight, help me out.
Village
you were in
Center
town meeting.
designation.
that sounds about right.
Building designation, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, kind of to blend the two, to be able to have the banners that you're talking about and you know, involve in, you know, make that a traditional element for both towns, to have the newly graduated seniors, if available, to be, you know, a part of a float.
That's a great idea. Have the town pull them.
One of the things that they did 2 years ago during COVID is the school club in Wardsboro. They did those cool
Yep.
little headshots, and they did these giant head cutouts
Yeah.
of all of the kids,
Fat
and they
heads.
did it because it was the unofficial 4th of July parade because
Oh.
I think you
they-
drove a fire truck.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
So and that was
So
something
I
they
think
did
we
in
can
the
figure
school club.
something out. Again, my banner thing, I was just thinking of something that you could give the kid, the student or the family, maybe
Right.
20 years down the road, you know, they would remember it. Go ahead, Peter. Is
Well,
Dwight
thank
got
you.
his hand up?
I just thought I'd mention that you're probably familiar with the award that Terry Davison Berger just got in connection with the Senior Survival course at LNG. But at graduation, each student had was announced or was presenting where they were going next. And apparently it was a very effective and moving ceremony. So that there's quite a substantive connection to the student and the student's future as they graduate. And I think there's a real follow-up there. So I don't want to detract from your idea, which I think is great, but there's also this quite substantial kind of scaffolding as the students are launched into the world.
Yeah, unfortunately though, our students are so spread out too. You know, I think that was one of the problems we've always had, where we've always felt like, you know, Townsend has a little easier because their students all wind up going to Leland and Gray, most of them, vast majority of them. So it was just, we always wanted to kind of get a good feel for what happens with the students after they leave us and how well prepared.
Yeah, well, this takes the same approach. I mean, some of them are going into the military and some of them are going to another state, you know, but they all have a chance to focus on their next steps. Anyway, that was all.
Thank you, Peter. So we'll see if maybe that can be another shorter topic.
May I just ask a clarifying question?
You can-
And that's just,
yeah.
so would this be only for students that graduate the elementary schools? It would be anyone that
High
we're
school.
paying for tuition to
Yeah.
have attended, okay.
So we're following up.
Right. And it's because that way, you know, part of the thing is where did you graduate, or what was your elementary school? Where did you go for 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th? And it's all voluntary.
Because there's students that we have that were not part of the elementary,
Right.
and they would have
That
moved
was
in
my-
later on.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're paying tuition.
Right.
So
Go ahead.
I think it shouldn't, I think defining it as who we pay tuition for may leave out somebody who chooses to go into the military.
it's high school.
No, it's high school.
They could, right, you're talking about
When they're
high school
graduating
pupils.
from high school.
Right. You can
Usually
join
you
the
gotta-
military before you graduate high school.
Not really anymore, can you? I thought they'd only take high school graduates now.
Till 18, you have to be a high school graduate.
Most of the time, because they're being choosier now.
Well,
But again, the purpose of this was to recognize high school graduates.
Right. Yeah. Well, people that the towns have paid for
Right.
their
So I
tuition.
mean, if we miss someone because they have dropped out of high school,
Well, homeschool students have to file too, right? So we would know.
We-
we would
Yeah.
include homeschool students.
Sure.
We should include.
But we haven't paid for
homeschool.
those.
We don't
GED?
pay for them, but
Right.
they do have to file.
Yeah.
What about a GED or something like that?
Getting in the weeds.
Yeah.
yeah, I do want to just, military, people going to military don't necessarily just drop out of school.
right.
I'm sure that's not what you meant.
I didn't
Okay.
say that.
I didn't say that you did.
Okay.
But Chad said something about dropping out, and I just wanted to clarify that that's,
Well, and I also said that most of the time the military now wants a high school diploma or GED before, because
But bottom line, we're focusing on diploma receiving.
somebody who's completed their public education, the part
Through grade 12.
right, even if it's homeschool or
Right.
through a parochial school or whatever, private school, whatever. I mean, if they're a resident of the town when they're graduating, I think it would be nice to recognize, and that's what I was looking for. So let's have a further discussion when we can be more specific. And again, it would be a voluntary thing. So
it's a budget discussion, Mr. Chair?
not a budget discussion, because I was not gonna. I was looking for it not to be funded by the schools, but to fund it through some other source. And that's why I think it's important too, Laura, to figure out, roughly what it costs, and is it something the towns would be interested in recognizing, their residents. And again, we can look at it. Maybe it's a split. Maybe school club would want to kick in something, and the towns and the school board. Again, it's not really thought out. It was just to bring it up and get people thinking. Have a conversation. And who knew where we were going to go with it? Restorative practice. So, was it the Wyndham Central meeting?
Yes.
That we talked about Marlboro's principal, Wayne, when he was talking about the JEDI a little bit. He talked about restorative practices. So I asked Bill to get for us what Marlboro did. So you got a one-pager here. And again, it's discussion, possible action. They seem to... I talked to Doug Korb, their chair, a little bit. They seem to be interested in it. I guess, Matt, you and Tammy also had some of the same training, or not you?
I haven't. I know the
Matt
Dover
did.
school has done that.
So, which I didn't realize until actually like today or last week when we were doing the agenda. So, I don't know if it's something that we have some interest in, but Matt, I'd like to hear your thoughts, and then I think because we are running a little later than I thought, maybe we just we kind of get it introduced tonight, and then we can think about it, and we'll put it on the next agenda.
Yeah, you want to hear a little bit about what we did?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So, and I think, I'm not sure if Marlboro, this was the response to COVID as well, but one of the things that a lot of schools are finding, but not all schools. So I just want to emphasize this because it's really sort of unique to the school. One of the things we're finding, of course, was that kids were having trouble being socialized during COVID when they were during remote school, when they were, all these restrictions were on them. So we found that socialization remains a priority with getting, kids back out there and working on skills that they hadn't maybe worked on in a while. So as part of our response at Dover School for that, we looked into a few different options, a couple of different restorative practices organizations, including the one that Marlboro used. We had one of our staff members who had some experience with a program called Pathways to Restorative Communities. It's a group out of Massachusetts, and essentially we had them come in last spring and do some general training for our staff so that we could effectively lead community circles, which essentially was a way for us to build that social foundation of respect and understanding between all students and between adults and students, so that we were making those practices of acceptance, of respect, of listening and participating. Many of those things are captured in the ROARS program. So it's really different at each school. The needs are different. We tailored ours to be kind of in line with what we're trying to do with our IB learner attributes. So that made sense for us. I know in Marlboro, they had some different challenges that they were trying to address with the path that they took. And I'm not exactly sure how they funded ours. We funded the Dover program through the ESSER grant. It was one of our student social and emotional well-being responses to the pandemic. So that's just a little history. We're feeling pretty confident at Dover this year in terms of using those community circles every day with kids, at least 4 days a week, and then also practicing them with staff in staff meetings at least a couple of times a month, often more. And then we've talked a little bit about what our next steps would be. The restorative practices is, in my opinion, kind of the next level of what we've been doing. So once you have the community practices, the community circles, the foundation of that, then you can build on the restorative and the equity, diversity, inclusion, all of those things, depending on what the what your level of need is as a school community. So there it is, 2 paragraphs worth.
Can we play dodgeball now?
Yeah,
Thank you.
after the pit spill,
The Gaga.
Gaga pit.
Gaga pit. I could get hurt in there maybe.
Oh, Mark needs to see that today.
Oh, Mark, you gotta see the Gaga pit.
Is that
Not to be
like something a
confused,
little baby
lady.
says?
No.
No, this is a new
New game.
that both the Dover school kids and the Wardsboro school kids like really are passionate about. But they've got one here, and they're building one in Dover too.
Is it like a league?
You'll see
It's
it.
like dodgeball in an octagon.
Don't think Chuck Norris.
I can envision a lot of broken
So,
teeth.
so Matt, is, you know, I'm looking at the examples, and you got you folks on the board. You know, they says staff and board participate in a harm repair circle to listen to each other and resolve an incident. And then there's like staff, and it seems to be the school and a family, which would not really involve the board. Is there a lot of involvement for the board in this? Is it something that the board needs to like say that this is something we support? I guess I'm not really sure, and I don't know if you have a short answer or if this is something we should bring up in another meeting.
So, and I'd welcome Tammy to jump in here too. I would just preface that I'm not an expert in this, and I'm learning along with the other staff members. And what I think the answer to your question is that restorative practices, restorative circles can really apply to any situation where somebody has felt that they've been wronged or not listened to, or somebody is concerned about communication. It is a way of opening up dialogue and rebuilding respect as needed, possibly giving an opportunity for people to apologize and figure out calm and regulated ways to work through their challenges. So you could really apply that to a small group of kids at school, a teacher and a kid, a group of teachers at school, teachers and board members, maybe parents and teachers. So there are lots of ways to apply the thinking that fit, although there probably isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of approach. It's really pretty dynamic, and it just involves a lot of communication and practicing what to say, when to say it, practicing ways to listen and not just talk all the time. So it's complicated.
Okay, so do you want to weigh in at all?
No, I would just say that it would be something that the board would have to invest time in outside of a normally scheduled board meeting to learn about and, practice the practices.
Does anybody on the board have any comments? Dwight, anything from you, sir? No? Anybody else? I know we've done some restorative stuff before Matt was in Dover with some students, and it was one of the things they mentioned here is somebody does something like if there's harassment in the school, and then you punish them. It's like a harm both ways. Where we had an incident with a student in the school, and we met in Brattleboro with the restorative justice person, and there was a really good process because instead of there being a punishment that the school handed out, the student worked with Bill on making a this is how we're going to fix this, and he was going to write an apology letter, and he was going to do a paper on how what he did could harm people or why it made the person feel unsafe, and it seemed, it was directed by the students. So, but again, that's not something we deal with as a board, and that's not something I dealt with on that as a board member. So I think there could be some good use for it. I guess maybe Matt and Tammy, if it's something that you want us to be more involved in, maybe you can make some suggestions or tell us if there's something you need, or maybe some more in-service time, or I'm not sure what. And then if the board has any thoughts on how the board can play into it, maybe we bring it up at a future meeting. I'm not really sure. Go ahead, Dwight.
Matt.
Oh, Matt, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Rich, I think that's a cool idea. You might run into that problem of that the board has to sometimes become a quasi-judicial body. And so I can imagine that there might be some conflicts there to involve the board in any matter that they might be faced with having to preside over in terms of, some sort of escalated issue. So could get complicated. Again, I'm out of my league with it at the moment. I'd have to learn more and talk to the attorneys in terms of the board participation, but I would be a little concerned about that.
Okay, thank you, Matt. So why don't, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think the reason that the Marlboro board got involved was because there's an issue between the board and a member of the staff. So it wasn't, they're not getting involved at the student level or the teacher level. It was an actual process for them to heal some wounds.
So after decisions were made?
I honestly don't know the details, so I couldn't say.
Yeah, and again, Matt makes a really good point, because if the student, if a staff member feels there's an issue, their process is they go to their administrator, they go to the superintendent, and then they come to the board as a quasi-judicial, so we're not supposed to know about it. So if we sit down in a group and talk about it ahead of time, we've taken away one step from them. So, Matt, if you have anybody, or without adding more to your plate, you said you had a staff member who had some more experience with it elsewhere. If you think of it, can you just ask them, how that works? The situation Mark would just kind of mentioned. And maybe you can check with Wayne and just see how, what the situation was. Was it something that had been, not with specifics, but how was the board able to meet with the staff member and not, take away their ability to appeal decisions to the staff, to the board? And then that would be it's a good point. Let's see what that does and how they deal with it. Anything else from anybody? You all good? Principal's report. Mark asked a question, or you wanted to put principal's report because you had a question about a previous report?
The report that was included in this week's packet.
Okay.
Matt, under financial efficiencies, you talked about Wardsboro. Sounds like Wardsboro already has, and Dover's going to be replacing Wi-Fi access points. There's been some relatively big problems come up recently with some manufacturers, as well as some management applications. I'd just be interested to know what direction we're going in, because that stuff's not cheap, and that's something I actually have a certification in.
Yeah, that's cool, Mark. So this is a project that the WCSU Technology Department is managing. And I believe the platform they're building on is called AeroHive. Have you heard of this platform?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So, and Peter Goldrick is the project manager. He's the WCSU Technology Director. And I believe it's heavily funded through the federal grant called E-Rate, which provides support for infrastructure projects in schools at a rate that corresponds to free reduced lunch and socioeconomic indicators. So that's what I know, and I would be happy to either put you in touch with Peter. I don't know anything about what models or what products they're looking at within the AeroHive brand, but that's what I know.
All right, thank you. I'll reach out to Peter. Thank you.
You all set, Walls?
Yep.
Okay, so then the only other thing I brought out was I sent you all, it's all Galen's fault over there, because last meeting was taking so long to download. I found some of my old budget books, and this was from the 2000. I used to make tabs so at town meeting or school district meeting I could find stuff easily. Understanding Equalized Pupils, and this was in 2005, but this, I actually looked for this when Mark and I were talking about something one time. And this is a really good, it talks about the scaling and the weighting way back then and how they got to the numbers they got to. And I was actually thinking I should try to find this. I don't know if you guys ever saw this, but I emailed it to everybody.
Did it?
Yeah, not that long ago. Went to your Wyndham Central. I just thought it was really interesting, and there's some really good stuff in the old books when we were getting updates on Act 60 and Act 68. But this still is a pretty good how they get to weighting the weighted average daily membership and stuff. So if anybody has any interest, it's there. If you didn't get it, Mark, send me an email.
Neither did Chad.
Yeah.
Oh, did you get it?
I don't know if I don't feel like I did.
Okay, I'm sorry. Then I will scan it again and send it to y'all. But it's really good. It was written by somebody from the Vermont Department of Education, and long term, the LTM versus the weighting of the students, and back here, each elementary pupil was 1, secondary pupils were 1.25, poverty added 0.25, and then how you scaled it in the long term weighted average daily membership, and it gives you all the definitions. So it was kind of
I'd like some of that.
Just be aware a lot of that's changed.
Send it to Peter. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Peter.
Thanks.
That's it. That's all we had under old business. I think, Mark, I covered all your requests.
Yeah, just a couple of announcements.
Yeah, we're gonna do them under future meetings, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So, Tammy or Matt, do you have anything else for us? Dwight, you all set? Okay. Anybody here? Anything else? Okay. We need to go into executive session, so I actually got corrected. I got schooled the other day. It's actually 2 motions we're supposed to make. So I asked Bill to separate them out and show motion 1 and motion 2. So I have motion 1, which says I move to find the premature general public knowledge regarding the appointment or evaluation of public and would put the board at disadvantage. And then we have to vote on that, and then we vote 2 to make a motion for the board to enter executive session for the appointment of a public officer or employee. And you have to read all that.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding the appointment or evaluation of a public officer or employee would put the board at a substantial disadvantage because individual personnel information would be disclosed.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Laura, second by Kate. Peter, are you good with that?
Got it.
Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Appears to be a unanimous decision. I saw him moving. Hang on, it is a unanimous decision.
Make a motion for the board to enter into executive session under Title I, Section 313 of the Vermont statutes for the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee. 313A3, final decision, if any, will be in open session.
I second.
You don't actually need a second for that one.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, so we have a motion. Is there any discussion? Peter, just note it's 8 o'clock too. At least it is on my clock.
I'll do.
And all those in favor say aye.
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 It appears to be a unanimous decision. It is unanimous. So by unanimous consent, we're out of executive session at 8:12 p.m. So we have a couple motions that we're going to make. So somebody wants to do that one. Mark?
I will move to allow the chair to sign a contract for Caitlin Larson for the Wardsboro 1-2 classroom teacher, which I don't see on here, but I'm assuming that's what it is, a salary of $51,215, full-time 1.0.
Do we have a second to Mark's motion?
Second.
Chad gets to second it. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 It appears to be a unanimous decision. It is. Congratulations, you guys have a new teacher in Wardsboro Elementary. Okay, I'm going to step down for a minute and turn the meeting over to Vice Chairman Rideout.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so we have another candidate, and go ahead, Mark.
I move to allow the vice chair to sign contract for Tracy Bartlett, counselor for the River Valley's Unified School District for a salary of $72,000, and it's a 1.0 FTE.
Okay, we have a motion that on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All right, is there any discussion? We have a motion and a second on the floor. And that was a motion by Mark and a second by Laura. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do I abstain on
Yeah,
that one?
you're running the meeting.
All right.
so.
I am abstaining because I'm.
Well, not that you abstain. You just.
Okay.
You're not going to vote.
Okay. That was passed, so we are going to move forward and we will sign that contract. Do we? And then I'm going to step down and turn the meeting back over to Mr. Warner.
Thank you. So I abstained just because of a conflict. So we have future meetings. So we missed a few for some reason. So July 14th, and I think it's 6 o'clock. Does anybody remember?
I think it's 5 to 7.
5 to 7. That sounds right.
Yeah, it is 5.
And
Okay.
I will not be here.
That's fine. It's not a. It's more of a
Zoom.
It's a Zoom meeting, strictly Zoom meeting, and it's a work session. So it will be with the attorney to discuss, and we can ask those questions. Thank you, Kate.
That's all the SU, right? Not just us.
Yeah, no, it's the entire SU. It was actually brought on for something going on with the West River group, so we thought it would make a lot of sense to open it to everybody, since that way the SU would pay for it, and we'd all get some benefit out of it. And then, Mark, you had some dates you want to add to VSBA meetings, or just something else?
Not VSBA,
Okay.
just other things. I think I mentioned it earlier, the website implementation committee is meeting Wednesday at 9 a.m. All are invited. And the policy committee will not meet in July, so that our administrators don't have to deal with us for the month of July.
Oh, look, the administrators are upset, Mark, so they said, go ahead and have it anyways. Cool. Is there anything else from anybody?
Just about the August 4th, and any of the VSBA webinars, but August 4th is Robert's Rules one. You can sign up, and if you don't attend, you will still receive a link in the mail for with all the documents. I'm sorry, you'll receive all the documents and a link for the recording in your email, and they also are available on the VSBA's website as well as their YouTube channel for anybody to enjoy.
Okay. If there's no other business to conduct, it's like the end of school. Schools and go ahead, Laura.
No.
Dwight, give us a motion.
Oh, you wanted a motion to adjourn.
Still
Sorry.
here. Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Second. Laura.
Sorry.
Aye.
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 Hey, thank you, everybody.